Well, business processing outsourcing is rapidly growing. There's a lot of outsourcing happening both locally and internationally. So basically, this is where one organization uses another organization to help them process and task or render other services. A common practice is accounting and human resource, where we are having a lot of people outsourcing tax consultants instead of having someone to do that, which is expensive in the long run. You get to outsource these services from other companies. Yes.
We have about 20 companies in the BPO industry in Kenya, and the number is expected to grow. What is driving this growth?
Of course, there's the demand, but also it is cost effective. Generally, it's cheaper to have to outsource than to train someone in the office to do all those things. It's cheaper in the long run because of the scalability factor. It is also cheaper because of the flexibility that comes around outsourcing, and also there's enhanced security because most of the companies do not have the infrastructure that is required to host themselves on the cloud because of a lot of cybersecurity issues. Yes.
And when you talk about hosting a company on the cloud, what exactly are you talking about?
Like an example with Parallax, we're using Amazon Web. So it entails storing your data in a secure place where it helps the usability. Instead of having to buy, as a company, instead of having to buy the infrastructure to have our own physical server in the office, we have it stored online by another company. That is like Amazon Web, where they are hosting it for us. So with that comes what I was saying, there's the security aspect of it because they encrypt our data, they store it for us. So in the event that we move from one place to another, or in the event there is like power shortage, we do not lose our clients' data and our systematic way where our data is stored and easily accessed. So a lot of companies are also leveraging on that fact that they need somewhere to store data, the increasing and overwhelming data that we are having to get each and every day now because of the digital footprint. Yes.
Of course, you're talking about it, cloud computing, which is also growing, but the challenge has always been, when you trust your information with a third party, and you obviously are not very sure what you're doing with that information. So how do you ensure the sanctity of data that you provide to third parties?
Well, we follow a lot of the regulatory acts, like the government one that is there for the data policy and private policy. So there's also the international standard that we are required to follow. So part of it is following those guidelines that are already set out for us. Number two, we're also collaborating with secure gateway platforms like M-Pesa, Visa, MasterCard that have invested in data privacy and invested in data security. So there's no breach from outside. Yes.
When you look at, the e-commerce industry here in Kenya, numbers are saying that this sector is going to grow, or we're going to get to about $1 billion, by the year 2027. What is driving this growth of e-commerce in Kenya?
Well, one, there is the accessibility and affordability of smartphones. For example, right now there's a very common thing called M-Copper, where you can get a phone from Safaricom or a distributor, and then you pay it slowly. So it makes it easier for so many people to own a smartphone. Even if it's expensive, they get to own it at a very comfortable price. So there's that, and there's also the connectivity. So you don't have to leave the comfort of your house to do shopping. You can basically order anything from your house online. I don't need to go to Mombasa to get probably a car or get something. Someone from Mombasa doesn't need to come to Nairobi to get a pair of shoes they've seen online. So it becomes easier. So I just order it online. The vendor from who I'm buying has mechanism where they send it to me at the comfort of my house. So there's that comfortability and how easy it is to do shopping online.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Also help us understand, I mean, how a youthful generation is driving e-commerce and BPO industry in Kenya. And I mean, when you relate this with what is currently happening, whether you have millions of young people who are unemployed, and how can we take advantage of the youth bulge in Kenya to drive the growth of e-commerce in Kenya and, of course, the BPO sector?
Oh, okay. So in e-commerce, there's something called platform as a service. So that's where we have the social media platforms. There's a lot of popularity on social media that has helped grow market and grow the sales. For example, a lot of people are selling their products and services on Facebook Market. A lot of people are doing it on Instagram. A lot of people are doing it on TikTok. There's also the aspect of using influencers, brand influencers, brand ambassadors. So that is also contributing to a lot of employment. Mm-hmm. It is also, people are encouraged to do things like, if I'm seeing someone selling their clothes online and earning money and generating revenue from it, it encourages me at home, while I'm at home, not to just wait to be employed. I can actually start something with my phone. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And also, you know, our geographical location. I mean, look at Kenya. We are just 2 hours behind the United Kingdom. We're 2 hours behind Germany and many other countries. And so how is our geographical location also playing or favoring Kenya as a BPO destination?
I'll start by saying with the connectivity and the literacy level, Kenya has been on the global scale with human resource labor. Like, we've seen a lot of human resource labor being exported to other countries. We've seen a lot of remote jobs happening, and Kenyans are performing at this work. So it is helping in the sense of, like, there's employment. It's helping also vendors from here to sell products to people in Europe, in other parts of the Africa. So yes.
Mm-hmm. And you know, when you look at the youthful population that we have, and when you look at the various programs that the government has rolled out to drive digitization and digitalization of government services, are we on the right track?
Definitely, yes, we are.
How?
There's a lot of jobs opportunities that have come up, like I've said, influencing gigs. There's a lot of business awareness, like a lot of businesses get recognized. They don't have to invest a lot in advertising. They, like the old ways of advertising, now I just have to pay Google ads or pay Facebook ads. This encourages a lot of startups like us, Palax, to venture into the space, into the industry, and in the end we create more employment. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And when you look at Vision 2030, which is Kenya's long-term economic blueprint, I mean, it identifies the BPO industry as a catalyst for job creation as well as economic growth. Do we have the right policies in place to drive the growth of BPO in Kenya and e-commerce?
Well, yes and no. Mm-hmm. Yes, because the existing one have already facilitated the growth to where we are. Mm-hmm. No, because this is an industry, especially the tech industry, rapidly grows very fast. There are new things coming up, so new policies have to be made. So there's like a need for the government to catch up with how much the trend is going, which I feel like the government is not.
And
to some extent in terms of the policies. Yes.
And when you say the government is not playing the catch-up role perfectly, where is it failing?
Well, part of it is because of how it's rapidly growing, everybody is figuring out as things come out. So there's that aspect.
So they are learning on the job.
Yes, everybody is learning on the job, including the government. But now, government shortcoming is that they are not having very youthful and agile people who are very quick to adapting to this trend in those spaces to have these conversations. So that's what is making them lag behind. Yes.
So if this anomaly was to be corrected, how would it be approached?
Definitely more young people in the space to have this conversation, more young people from the tech industry, because those are the people that understand in first hand before the rest of us catch up. More acceptability. I feel we are a prop tech company, and I feel like most of the industries in Kenya have not moved to the digital platform. Like Parallax, we are trying to move the real estate to the digital world. So trying to make that transition on the industry to the tech side is also what is lacking. Yes.
What you're just seeing on your screen is one of Kenya's flagship projects under the ICT sector, and this is the Huduma Center. With more than 50 Huduma centers in the country spread out, where services, at a small fee, this has been termed as a revolution. And what do we need to do to have more centers of excellence in the ICT industries like the Huduma centers?
Adopt a lot of the new technologies like AI, machine learning to such innovative things. Because you see now with AI and machine learning, they get to understand the consumer's behavior, they get to predict. There's the algorithm, the AI learns what exactly I need, so it helps to tailor make advertisement. It also helps the producers, the manufacturers to tailor make goods and services to individualized customers. Yes.
Do you see strong adoption of AI or artificial intelligence in government services?
Not as strong as I would want.
Why?
Again, what I'm saying is catching up with the trend is what is our biggest challenge with our government. There's a lot that needs to move to the... We are halfway there, but they need to add some of these technological advancements like AI and machine learning to help us improve on that. Yes.
Like, which area of the economy do you feel the government should invest more on artificial intelligence?
That's an interesting question. Tourism would very much thrive because Kenya has very beautiful places to go. So with that, we don't really need much per se. We just need the photos, the videos, the what to help put Kenya out there more. So it becomes easier for the tourism industry to target tourists from various part of the world. Sorry. So I feel like tourism would really benefit with AI. Which other one? Without getting into much trouble, I feel it's also health and security. Those are and education. Those are very paramount, because as they adapt that, we also bring another generation of very technologically savvy. Yes.
And of course, of late we have seen the government, making a aggressive move towards computer coding. In a bid to mold the next generation of coding experts in Kenya. Do you recognize this as a great attempt in deepening Kenya's ICT industry?
Yes, that's like I said, we are really heading in the right direction. There's a lot that is being done, even though we are still not yet there. There's a lot that is being done by the government and also the private sector. There's tremendous growth. There's a lot that is being done, but there's still a lot we need to do. Again, because these technological tools and advancement are coming up very fast. So all we are doing as of now is playing catch up as compared to other developed countries, where I feel where we would get to a point where we are doing so well is where we are also part of the people that are bringing up these things. Like, let's have, apart from M-Pesa, let's have an app that is as famous as Facebook and TikTok from Kenya or Africa. Yes.
And I like the fact that you're bringing in the issue of creating the next generation of innovative applications. And M-Pesa, has been a revolution in the mobile money business,
yes,
not only here in Africa, but around the world.
Yeah.
But M-Pesa is now how many years old? It's almost turning 20.
Yes.
This concept was started back in 2007?
4-5, I think 4-5, it became...
Yeah, but it was rolled out commercially in 2007.
Yes.
We are now in 2014. We are yet to develop another explosive application like M-Pesa. What is happening with our innovative skills?
Partly, like we have discussed earlier, I feel like if we have this technological side introduced in our curriculum, where we do not have to wait to get to campus or university to do computer or software engineering for us to start making this innovation. If we can start as early as maybe primary and secondary school, where we're having IT being taught as a course, I think it will be easier for the younger generation to come up with such great innovations instead of waiting until you're in campus and then you're waiting. You still have to do other things with life and still have to make a very creative innovation. I feel like part of it has to come from us training the younger generation. Yes.
And you see, as a country, we have various platforms where innovations and the next lot of scientists can be established. And I'm talking about platforms like the Kenya Innovation Week, which happens annually. I'm talking about the Kenya Young Scientist Week, where, young scientists or upcoming scientists, congregate to look at the next innovations and the innovation ecosystem in Kenya. So why aren't we having great minds, coming out of these platforms, to develop concepts that can help Kenya in its socio-economic agenda?
Well, that one has a very deeper root to it, because apart from the government playing its role, we as individuals and as parents also have a role to encourage the younger generation, to help expose them more to greater things. Like, instead of passing time and using social media as an entertainment platform alone, we can use it as an educational platform. Let's get to YouTube and see how our young kids or people in America or in China, what are they doing? So we start by encouraging the younger generations at home, at school, and then now the government provides such opportunities and environment. Instead of having it once or twice a year, why can't we have it every month? Why can't we have it? I remember back when we were in high school, we used to have Science Congress. Why can't we have those things back in university and in secondary? Let us see kids doing that more, so that back at home they're encouraged, at school they're encouraged, and as a is also encouraging a lot of that technological advancement. Yes.
Well, if you're just joining us, we're having a conversation with Maureen Kimani. She's she works with Palax, and she's she is a BPO as well as e-commerce expert, joining us here to give us an overview of where the sector is, what we need to do the hits and the misses, and how they can be addressed. You're watching us live from Broadcasting House. And of course, remember, Kenya Broadcasting Corporation is the official broadcaster of the 2024 Paris Olympics, which are happening in the city of Paris in France. We are taking a short break, and thereafter, we are back with more stories.
Freedom is coming tomorrow. I want the whole world to know that I am mine and you are yours. Sorry. You are mine and I am yours.
How long have you been in this college?
Very long.
Very long, I know. Beats me why you are happy to see someone else taking what is rightfully yours.
Atito Jaturua, speak for yourself. Pesa ni sabuni ya roho. Inasafisha pia.
Hey, red days, and red days. I just beg of you to keep your feelings on check, or else I will disappoint all of you.
France welcomes the 2024 Olympic Games. In this edition, Heroic Team Kenya is pushing boundaries as well.
An Olympic gold medal.
More significantly, Kenya is intent on claiming victory at the quadrennial sporting event comprising of 45 sports that will be staged from 24th of July through to the 11th of August. Here comes a dose for everyone.
Yes, it is!
For the athlete, it is chasing a dream of a lifetime. And for the fan, witness history in the making, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Well, Kenya is a big player when it comes to the business processing and outsourcing business, ranking at number 3 behind Egypt, South Africa, and then you have Kenya. But this sector is facing a myriad of challenges. One of them is lack of updated regulatory policies, and of course, the bulging population of young people without jobs. And so how do we tap these and ensure that we flip the coin to our advantage? Maureen Jerry is an expert in this area. She works for Pilot, which is a startup that is basically working with big-time players in the BPO industry here in Kenya and around the world. She has been guiding us on how to improve this industry in the last 35 minutes. And now we have about 25 minutes before we wind up this conversation. Maureen, when you look at Vision 2030, it anticipates that by the year 2030, we should be talking about 200,000 people employed in this industry. We have 6 years to go. What do we need to accelerate these? Because I understand there are about 110,000 people working in this sector.
We need to do a lot of civic education, number one. We need, which I can say the government has been doing that lately, talking about the online jobs, talking about positioning the country into those places. I'll give you an example of Philippines and India. They're part of the emerging BPO industry, leading countries on BPO. They have outsourced so many of their citizens to
India and Philippines, actually.
Yes, to work with most of the American and other developed countries. So I feel like the government has a big role to play on that, to help us leverage on that. But also the young people also have to be very much intentional on doing those jobs and connecting with these people, because now it's very easy with the help of social media. Yes.
Another challenge that has been highlighted in this industry is low remuneration among young people joining this industry. Because I understand the entry salary for a BPO executive, or what you'd call call center executives, is between 20 to 25,000 shillings. Do you feel there is a need to review these, at company level?
Definitely, there is need to review that, but you see a lot of companies, especially the private industry, rely on the regulation, the minimum wage bill that is passed, like the minimum wage that is required. So at the end of the day, it's a business. They also have to make sure the expenses are low, but to emphasize and raise the minimum wage for it to be easier to help both the employees and the employers. Also, labor unions also need to help lobby for their workers. Like we've also been seeing recently our doctors outside on strike. Yes.
Are employees in this sector allowed to join labor unions, bearing in mind that most of them, they work with contracts?
Are they allowed? Yes. I don't think there is any company that intentionally would bar their employees to not join. I don't know much about labor unions, but I don't think the private sector discourages their employees to join those unions. But there's also what you say, their contract. I feel like we need more pensionable and permanent employees to have strong enough unions, because right now the strongest unions we have are mostly the government, the civil servant labor unions, like Kupet, and for the doctors. We don't see a lot of private labor unions coming out to fight for their employees. Sorry. Yes.
And yet we have the Central Organization of Trade Union, COTU, which has been there for many years. I also want to have a feel of this. Why do most BPO companies prefer to employ people on 3 or 6 months contract?
I'll give an example on what is currently happening in Kenya and globally, the high inflation that is currently going on. So there's also the burden of high taxes. So number one, the business environment is not very conducive to guarantee job securities at the moment. There's a lot of uncertainties. If you look at most of the private sector companies in Kenya, they are not doing as well as they should have been. So it becomes easier to employ people permanently and pay for their pension and give them other benefits. Yes.
And when you talk about economic operating environment, and this has been a conversation that has been ongoing, for the last 10 years. I mean, I've done this for more than 10 years, and quite often I do hear people talk about tough operating environment. How can we improve the working environment, the business environment, the investment environment here in Kenya so that we can attract big ticket players into the BPO industry, into the e-commerce space in Kenya?
Right now, our biggest challenge as a country is the political instability. So
political instability.
Yes,
that has always been for many years.
Yes, but right now it's very hot. It's a very hot thing right now. So we are seeing a lot of, like, for example, the tourism industry is very much affected by that. Right now, the transport industry is very much affected, and the whole economic is being affected because there are a lot of people who have not come to work. Like on Tuesday, there are people who didn't come to work. There are people who didn't go to shop. There are people who didn't leave their houses, basically. So there's political stability. Number two, there's the biggest challenge that we've had as a country and as Africa, corruption. I feel like that is one of the things that is really lagging us behind, because you cannot have a place where I have to operate a business and I still have to remove money out of my pocket to bribe or give someone to either expedite the processes or pay someone to maybe get my tender paid. So there's corruption also that is playing a very big role in that. Yes.
And what about service delivery by the government? Is the government doing it the right way to create an environment where investors can come and invest? I know we've been talking about setting up a one-stop shop for investors whereby you can come. And Rwanda has been a perfect example of how they have managed to execute things, whereby they have set up various one-stop shop, even at major airports, where investors can just come, apply for their licenses, pay for the taxis, get the relevant documents, and then within a week, their business is up and running. We're still trying to develop such a concept here in Kenya. What then do we need to do so that we can make the investing climate in Kenya favorable to investors?
We'll start with the obvious, corruption. I feel like we need to have strict measures where we are not only talking about corruption, but we are also having other sectors like the judiciary punishing and these people who are named as corrupt. Corruption is one. Number two, I feel like there's what we've said, we are not leveraging so much on technology. There's like a lot of technology that can help easen up most of those processes. A lot of government services are very manual. They're still very manual. Like there's a lagging time difference of adapting the digital platforms to help easen up the services. So like I don't have to go to Huduma Center, for example. Why can't we have somewhere where I can log in and have those services at the comfort of my house, instead of me having to leave the house to go to Huduma or City Hall to apply for a business license? Why can't someone from Dubai or America open a business or do something without having to physically have someone be here or go to City Hall and all that? The government is doing a lot. I still say it's doing a lot because we have the e-citizen gateway.
But it's not doing enough.
But it's not doing enough. Yes.
I know you engage with so many investors from around the world who are keen on setting up their business here in Kenya. What is the number one challenge do they mention about doing business in Kenya?
Corruption.
Oh, God. Everything is corruption.
Unfortunately. The other day we saw what happened at Tatu City. Yes. The biggest problem is corruption.
What do you tell them? Do you tell them that we are as corrupt as you believe?
No. We tell them that it's just a few individuals. It's not the entirety of the whole country. It's not everyone in government that is corrupt, to be honest. It's just a very small fraction of those people. But the thing is, the negative things tend to be over-magnified. So, of course, we tell them that's not usually the case as always. So there's that I feel like that is one of the biggest problem. I feel like if we deal with corruption, every other thing would fall in place.
Have you lost big business because of the corruption tag with Kenya?
To be honest, no. Hopefully never. Because I think that, as we mostly deal with individuals, we deal with landlords, we deal with developers, we deal a lot with individuals. And I'm sorry to say, but a lot of the corrupt issues that come up are when you are doing business with the government. So with the private, it's not. I'm not saying it's not there. It's there, but it's very minimal. Maybe.
Are you trying to say that the public sector is more corrupt than the private sector in Kenya?
Unfortunately. Well, for the private, it's more scratch my back, I scratch yours. In the sense of like, I can get a developer or a landlord and they'll give me business in return for me to market their property. So it is a win-win situation. That's why there's the corruption is a bit lower in comparison to the public sector. Yes.
And what is the role of both the public and the private sector in addressing these corruption menace? Because, look, I mean, we've been talking about corruption for more than 40 years now, and we don't seem to be winning this war. We have established various institutions to deal with this crisis, and yet it is still becoming prevalent here in Kenya. What do we need to do? Because, let's face it, I mean, in the modern world, people are not, or companies are not willing to bribe people to set up their base in their country. There are so many options, okay? If investors do not get a better investment climate in Kenya, they have other options.
Yes.
They can go to Rwanda, they can go to Ethiopia, they can go to Tanzania, South Africa, and many other countries. And as you were saying earlier on, we have big-time players in the BPO world, led by India and the Philippines. And so we need to put our house in order. But the question is, how then do we do this?
We've already talked so much about how to go about it, but I feel like we also need to stop normalizing corruption. We need to stop making it something normal to bribe a police officer at the road. We need to make it stop being normal to bribe someone so that my procurement check can come out, or to bribe someone so that I can get a tender. We need to stop normalizing corruption, because the minute we stop normalizing it, it becomes something that we are disgusted by. So from there, it's easy to hold, like right now we can see how the public at large is really holding the government accountable on a lot of corruption cases. That is part of the reason why there's the ongoing demonstration. We need to get to such a point, individually and as a country and as companies, where we are just sick and tired of this corruption menace. Yes.
What factors do you believe would drive BPO and e-commerce in Kenya in the next 5 years?
Number one is adopting technology, like the use of AI, machine learning. There is a huge shift. There's a lot of people using technology. There is the social media usage of businesses to sell their properties and services. But I feel like we need to put more effort in using technology, because that is where things get easier. It simplifies things. It's easier for you to do sell something from Kenya to any part of the world. So adopting technology is really, yes.
And what is your message to to the young people who are watching this program and just wondering, how can I get into the BPO and e-commerce space? I want you to face them and talk to them. And that is your camera, number one.
I'd say the first step is knowing what you want, because BPO is very broad. There's so many industry inside BPO. So set a goal. What exactly do you want to do? Then be very intentional. Right now, things are very easy because we have social media. We have platforms like LinkedIn. We have platforms like Twitter, like Facebook, where you can see people who are already in the industry. You can message them. You can talk to them. You can ask them, how did you get here? What are the steps that I need to take? Can you be my mentor? A lot of it is going to be on our part to be very much intentional. I know we have the knowledge, I know we have the information on our phone, but the biggest step that we need to take is being more intentional on finding the right spaces for us, finding these right spaces, opportunities for us, because nobody is going to do it for us at the end of the day.
It must be a personal initiative.
Yes.
And of course the government now setting up the ball rolling by creating the necessary policies and a good business environment.
Yes.
Any other thing we need to know from you, Maureen, before I let you go?
I think I've pretty much said a lot about Palax as a company and BPO and where we are as a country, as an industry. Yeah, so hopefully we'll have more conversations on that. I feel like we need to move to the how to, and not just what is happening, but the how to.
The how to.
Yes.
That is the elephant in the room.
Yes.
Very good. Maureen, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning and of course for sharing your insight with us.
Thank you.
Your time is highly appreciated.
Thank you for having me.
Very good. I mean, Maureen Jerry is a business development manager at Palax Technologies, joining us here this morning to help us understand the state of BPO and e-commerce in Kenya and the bottlenecks therein and how we can address them. And according to her, corruption is our biggest challenge as a country. And this is the dragon that we need to slay. All of us. This will take the combined effort of the public as well as the private sector to deal with this challenge. You're watching Biz Check. We are coming up with the next hour, and the conversation revolves around